Renowned for their ingenuity, colourful expressions and ability to break through social barriers, the people of Jamaica have left their mark in the world of music, visual arts, theatre and many other spheres. From the remnants of the past, the present steps out and remains committed to the authentic Jamaican sounds, views and feels. I'm Theodore Henry, your tour guide for today's culturally explosive journey with Jamaica Magazine.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, October 12, 2022. Government has ordered an investigation into land scams being run by criminal enterprises across the island. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says personnel from the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, have been dispatched to conduct a comprehensive investigation into these reports. Areas under surveillance include Mount Edgecombe in St. Anne, Naysbury Grove and Thetford in St. Catherine, and Retirement and Providence in St. James.
This is a dangerous happening, and as a country we must be united and take a stand against this pervasive criminal activity and stop it from taking root. I also want to advise anyone who may know of any such possible arrangements for illegal transfer of government lands to visit the offices of MOCA and the JCF and make a report. MOCA offers an online platform for which you can make a report, www.moca.gov.jn if you don't want to call them. Or you can go and visit CTOC and make a complaint.
Mr. Holness was providing an update on the removal of structures from lands adjoining the Clifton community in St. Catherine during a statement in Parliament on Tuesday. More than 10,000 residents of Exchange and surrounding communities in northeastern St. Anne now have increased access to water. This follows the completion of work on the Exchange White River relift station and replacement of the Upton tank. The facilities, which were upgraded by the National Water Commission at a cost of $141 million, were recently commissioned into service. The project will result in NWC customers in the areas of Exchange, Bonham Spring, White River, parts of Eltham and Lodge receiving water approximately 22 hours per day. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, says the project reflects government's commitment to boosting the efficiency and service reliance of the NWC.
If we are to bring Vision 2030 to life, bringing potable water to the people of Jamaica, VP and team, is indeed a mandatory pillar of that strategy. With today's commissioning, we know that we are benefiting upwards of 10,000 persons and 2,500 accounts in this area.
Mr. Samuda has encouraged the residents to report unscrupulous individuals who are illegally abstracting water from NWC lines.
If you see someone accessing a water line illegally, they're putting the entire network at risk, because 9 times out of 10 they're not plumbers or engineers. So you're risking your water for them to get free water when you are paid. It cannot make sense.
Businesses are being encouraged to consider driving their operations utilizing renewable energy. Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Norman Dunn, made the call recently. He says customers and big investors are switching allegiance to companies that pay greater attention to how their operations impact the natural environment. In that vein, he says that as the global agriculture industry adopts more efficient and sustainable production techniques, the government of Jamaica has signaled its readiness to support models that are particularly responsive to climate change.
More local businesses are therefore being encouraged to include renewables in their practices as part of their core business model, especially as we approach 2030, the decade of growth and development.
The State Minister adds that the government continues to invite more private sector-led projects to strengthen Jamaica's energy resilience and to accelerate the adoption of distributed renewable energy. Dr. Dunn was speaking at the commissioning of a solar-powered plant at Astrojam Limited in Bluntus, St. Elizabeth over the weekend. He congratulated the entity for making the switch to solar energy.
the conversion, in this case, of 2,100 square feet facility to 100% solar energy demonstrates that there are still effective mechanisms which business can use to scale up while supporting significant energy conservation and climate adoption imperatives.
Dr. Dunn is also encouraging businesses to take advantage of energy loans being offered by the Export-Import Exim Bank of Jamaica to help retrofit their operations. To strengthen the integrity of government agencies, the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency, MOCA, has launched its first polygraph examiners course. The course, which is the first of its kind in the region, will run from October 10 to December 16. It is designed to facilitate the certification of 8 new polygraph examiners from local and regional law enforcement agencies. Speaking at the launch on Monday, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang said government was moving to tackle corruption in its ministries, agencies, and law enforcement bodies head-on.
Integrity assurance of what institutions is crucial as we battle the active players and look forward to developing programs that will prevent its not only continued development, reduce recruitment from schools and the communities, but really ensure we have effective agencies fighting to overcome the problem and really can give the country some assurance.
The training course is a requirement for all persons who want to practice as polygraph examiners and wish to be accredited by the primary accreditation body, the American Polygraph Association, APA. Participants are expected to complete 400 hours of work across 10 weeks of training to be delivered by instructors from the Canadian Police College. MOCA's polygraph and vetting unit has been functional since 2014, conducting more than 11,000 screenings for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, and other government bodies. And finally, students at the Convent of Mercy Academy, Alpha, have received a wellness bench that will serve as a safe space for them to talk openly and seek help with issues they may be facing. The wellness bench was unveiled on Monday, marking the launch of the Ministry of Health's Do Your Share campaign. The region-wide campaign is being implemented in partnership with the Ministry of Education, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Other schools are expected to benefit from the designated safe spaces. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is encouraging the students to utilize the wellness bench whenever they need to decompress or have a clear mind.
All mental health is about is the promotion of mental wellness, because we want you to be well so that you can be the best that you want to be. So today on World Mental Health Day, as we launch this very important symbol of a safe space, it is both practical, but it's also symbolic. I want to challenge you at Alpha today to think today and decide where your safe space is.
The donation of the bench follows the launch of a mental wellness literacy program.
Last week we launched a mental wellness literacy program which will train teachers in the schools to then make mental wellness curriculum an agenda.
Monday, October 10 was observed as World Mental Health Day under the theme Make Mental Health and Well-Being for All a Global Priority. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
How many more must die because of reckless drivers? How fast is too fast? Make we take time, no man. Obey the rules of the road. Drive with care.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
While we continue designing the future of our nation, take a look back at 60 years of our music and dance from 1962 to the present.
Chick, chick, chick.
The Lady G's, the Lady Saws.
Road is in court now, boys. Scratch Perry and King Tubby, what they did, and that is influencing modern music production today.
The torso is tilted forward, the arms are going up and down.
The original sound system owners, Tom the Great Sebastian, Thomas Wong.
If you look at stuff like, Sata Masagana, people love the song and love the rhythm.
This is a story about Jamaica. Well, more so, its unique soundtrack and exceptional tunes. A story about the beats that keep the feet, hips, arms, hearts, and souls of Jamaicans moving.
Modern Jamaican music can trace its origin to the sound system. Now, the sound system can trace its roots to Tom Wong, the man who had the sound system called Tom the Great Sebastian. After that, people like Arthur Duke Reid and Clement Sir Coxsone Dodd decided that they were making their entry into the sound system business. The mood in America, where they were getting the music from, shifted, and the sound system operators decided that they needed to find a way of getting exclusive music, and one of the ways they thought they could do so was to create their own, and that's how ska was born. The anthem for that period, for me, would be Derek Morgan's Forward March.
Together be brothers and sisters, we're independent. 1962 on the 6th of August, when them was going to have this celebration of Jamaica independent, I was the one on a truck back, and I sing Forward March on that.
There was a close relationship between music and dance. So in ska, the torso is tilted forward. Now there was the options of the arm going up and down, side to side, forward and back. But the overall shape of the movement was very low.
By 1966, ska had made way for rocksteady.
Land of the black, gold, and green. I guess the musicians decided that they want to slow it down a little bit, that people can more relax, you know, in the dancing and thing. So here comes the rocksteady moment.
It was definitely a less exuberant type of music. And some people say that that is reflective of the fact that people were coming to terms with what the Independence Project meant, and they were not as confident as they were a few years before.
So the movement was always coming back to center because you are taking control of your space. So it is an undisturbed, cool, the rude boy thing.
It was soon the late 1960s, and what continued as a demonstration of our ingenuity and innovation, as well as a reflection of our souls as Jamaicans, was the evolution of rocksteady to reggae.
Sold died to the merchant ships.
So reggae comes along at a point when Jamaica is now mature in the development of indigenous music. And reggae becomes message music influenced by Rastafari's ideological positioning.
This is why the Bob Marley is so successful, the Burning Spears and a whole lot of people, because the message of the music resonated internationally with the struggles of poorer people.
When we got into the reggae era, we got a lot more of the movement that we would find at the Bobo camps, at the Nyabingi 12 Tribe sessions, a lot of swing, the head nods, and a lot more of that religious reverence.
At the turn of the late 1970s, a new beat was formed, one that would share the stage with reggae.
And me, she want, see how me cute. So the dancehall was a space, and then it moved to become a genre. So then everybody, women and men, dance close together and dance and rub-a-dub.
Dancehall, of course, completely in an ethnomusicological context, different because you're getting staccato rhythms now, a faster paced beat. But dancehall emerges as Jamaica's premier street theatre.
Dancehall and the rise and the growth of dancehall music came about when Steely and Clevie came on the scene and started digitizing the music.
Right along with that came the movements, of course. Bogle dance, created by Gerald Bogle-Levy in 1992. You had World Dance, which followed up, and so many others. We went on to see the butterfly, the tatty, the prang, a host of dancehall movements. Dance doesn't operate in a vacuum, so it's intrinsically linked to music.
But no musical genre developed after the 1960s isn't influenced by Jamaican music.
Our visual arts remains a vibrant part of our cultural history, and the last 60 years have painted a truly colorful story. Here's a look at that story.
The music often reflects what's happening in the visual arts. There are several visual artists that have designed album covers for a lot of other people like Peter Tosh and so on.
The head of the school at that time was Barrington Watson, and he set about putting in place a diploma program.
Since independence, visual arts expression in Jamaica has shifted significantly.
The story of Jamaican visual arts remains a strikingly colorful mixture. It's one that's layered with the details of artists stroking their brushes with intentionality. Some using their toothstone axes to create sculptures that tell stories of our blackness. Others whose pencils and chalks have mastered realism. And then more who are preserving elements of our historical experiences and newer issues. The last 60 years of Jamaica's visual arts landscape easily provides a fully immersive and stimulating experience. Along with independence came a new impulse to establish national identity through different areas of the country, including the visual arts.
The visual arts in Jamaica began not very long before independence, with the return of Edna Manley and Norman Manley to Jamaica. Edna Manley was herself an artist. When they returned to the island, she is famously remembered for remarking that she saw nothing that reflected the people of Jamaica. In other words, drawings that were being done by children in schools looked like European children. And she set about trying to change that with her own work and with the establishment of a school at the Institute of Jamaica. So independence and the early development of visual arts in Jamaica coincided greatly.
This interest to see more Black representation prompted the introduction of modern art ideas from artists like Albert Huey, Milton Harley, and Barrington Watson. Education in art, particularly through the School of Visual Arts, moved from part-time classes,
offering courses in sculpture and courses in painting. They started also ceramics with Cecil Ball. So there was Albert Huey and Cecil Ball were her co-founders of the school.
Introducing classes granting diploma, now with a new name, the Cultural Training Center, and later formalization by the state as the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts emerged with a degree granting status.
We were very fortunate to have leaders in the early days and after independence who thought that developing Jamaica culturally was very central to developing the country. Both Michael Manley and Edward Siaga were responsible for the Cultural Training Center.
In that period too, the National Gallery of Jamaica emerged, displaying and celebrating true Jamaican art. Through the gallery, many of our self-taught artists were able to exhibit under the label of Intuitive.
People like Brother Brown, people like Capo. In Jamaica, we had a lot of artists who never went to school, but they could create images that had a certain emotional power.
It was David Boxer who coined the term intuitive to describe this aspect of Jamaican art, a term now recognized and used globally. He rejected such terms as primitive, naive, and folk, as he felt that there was a sophistication there of color and form that immediately challenged the very designation, primitive.
Also, in the 80s into the 90s, you began to see a little bit more of individual expression, more of artists producing artwork that reflected some of the turmoil of the late 70s and early 80s.
In the 1990s, the Caribbean region was opening up, and right along with that came a flood of Pan-Africanist ideas, which started to impact the visual art story our nation was still writing. That collision became evident in the work of popular artists such as Petrona Morrison, Stanford Watson, and Omari Ra. There was also the rise of monuments being produced from the hands of famous sculptors such as Basil Watson, Laura Facey, and Raymond Watson.
In the 2000s, you'll see more of what's happening in the diaspora and diaspora artists speaking about their own realities as well as their connections with Jamaica.
Also, Paint Jamaica's mural project took off in Kingston.
It has been the kind of cross-pollination again with the realities of the global artistic community, with people seeing the dynamism and the potential of murals beyond being a memorial, but ways to create urban renewal, ways to create environments of safety.
And our biennials continue to evolve with a changing artistic landscape.
The biennial has evolved in a way to be much more inclusive of the diaspora. So it's been reaching out in its scope, and that has been reflected in what is exhibited in this current biennial.
So that cross-pollination between Jamaicans living in different places has created an overarching trajectory of how our 60th year in the arts have come to a sort of global village in how Jamaicans are looking at themselves, both as Jamaicans at home and abroad.
There's no way to talk about our arts and culture without a visit to the theatre. With this year marking 60 as an independent nation, here's what theatre has looked like over these 6 decades.
Just before independence, with the great expectations of what was to come, that excitement would have informed the context within which we thought that it was now okay to put ourselves in art, whether it is music, dance, drama, painting.
It's all theatre. When you see an artist on the stage, from the way he's dressed to the movement on the stage, the way the lights were, and everything, it's all theatre.
The infectious nationalist movement of the 60s was clearly shaping several areas of the country's cultural landscape. But further to this new movement was the rise of a grand theatrical legacy that underpins the emergence of some of the most impactful writers, directors, performers, and theatre groups in the country. The 1960s made an urgent call for decolonization. There was the development of Afro-Jamaican forms of theatre, mostly because of the works of pioneers such as Louise Bennett Coverley and Ranny Williams.
One of the things that comes to my mind as I think about the transition is something which the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley once wrote about the pantomime. That the pantomime was grand, the pantomime was bright, and how much she enjoyed it, but nearly everybody white. And so if we have that as a pre-independence context in which we operate, then we would be able to see more clearly how the meaning of independence, that we are now in control and we can represent ourselves to ourselves as we see ourselves in theatre, would have impacted what we created.
On the eve of the country's independence in 1961, the Little Theatre opened its doors. That period too saw the emergence of the Barn Theatre, the island's first professional theatre company. It began capturing the optimism of young Jamaicans who were eager to move away from European ideals.
Independence signaled for Jamaica a great opportunity for us to shape our own national identity and to define who we were as a people. And so I feel like theatre at that time would have evolved from the influences of European theatre and would be a little more reflective of our own definitions of who we are and the things that were happening in our society.
At the turn of a new decade came the rapid rise of Caribbean expression, and Jamaican theatre was now at its peak. The Jamaican School of Drama emerged. The 70s later gave rise to the Montego Bay theatre movement. Of note too was the staging of the 1976 Caribbean Festival and Arts, CarFesta, under the leadership of Wycliffe Bennett. And then, emerging later, was Jamaican Roots Theatre.
Oh, hello. Pretty?
Dread.
By opening up the arts and to the great mass of people, it means that everybody is now putting on plays and taking part in plays.
Roots Theatre was using slapstick comedy to comment on current issues and focus the working class as the real heroes of society. There was also the rise of activist theatre, with new theatrical groups, such as the Sistren Theatre Collective.
And that occasioned another shift about who we believe can be on stage and what kind of stories they have to tell. That opened a new window for women in theatre.
The 80s continued reflecting the vibrancy of Jamaican drama. The Little Theatre Movement's 1981 Panther, Pirate Princess, made it all the way to London, showing at the Hackney Empire Theatre. The 80s also welcomed the newly established pantomime company with its first production, Trash.
I think was also born in that period of time that we realized that theatre isn't about you kin your teeth and that's it, as much as we learn for take kin teeth, keep a heart bun. But theatre is a very important arena of education.
So your face looks so sour. Woman, I feel so sour that if you put me beside a glass of sugar and water, it bound to turn lemonade.
The 90s heralded a new era for theatre. Jambiz International was formed, with many of its productions focusing on humorous entertainment.
There's no K in certificate.
This period was also marked by the staging of Theatre Fest, a festival of 4 plays. Much of the Jamaican theatre of the 1990s has spilled over into the 2000s and remains a commentary on social issues.
A lot of what I see coming out of theatre in this moment is relationships. And this is why I say it's a reflection of society, because coming out of COVID-19, a lot of what the society has been anchored on is relationships. How have families come together to survive? How have organizations learned to depend on employers? What is the employee-employee relationship?
And Nancy pick up him.
Today, storytelling as a genre of theatre is becoming increasingly important, especially through organizations like Ntukuma, popularized largely through the works of Louise Bennett.
Right, Clarkson going.
Long live Louise Bennett. Long live Charles Hyatt. Long live Ranny Williams. And many others. They have certainly opened that door, A, because they talk so, and B, because they did us the favor, the honor of recording our stories for us.
Today's journey would have shown you how the island's incredible cultural history has been laced with stories of success and global acceptance. As we close, we encourage you to tap into your imaginations and continue creating and writing great Jamaican stories. Let's continue the engagement beyond this half hour. Visit our website at www.jis.gov.jm. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.